Prosthetic practices is now called to order. The human cost of the Iraq conflict has been nothing short of devastating. In 5 years of war, our troops have suffered 4,000 deaths and another 29,000 injuries. As our wounded soldiers return from overseas, the nation now faces the moral and financial challenge of providing for their medical care. Why should we care about the prosthetic needs of our nation's veterans? In the aftermath of the devastating revelations about the conditions at Building 18 in Walter Reed Army Medical Center, an independent review group headed by the Honorable Togo West was assembled to report on rehabilitative care and administrative processes at both Walter Reed and the National Naval Medical Center at Bethesda. The independent review group identified traumatic amputations as one of the 4 signature injuries that have been associated with the current conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. It is important to note that today's Veterans Administration serves not only the wounded returning from current conflicts, but also the additional 70 million Americans otherwise eligible for VA benefits. My brother, Brian Braley, knows this very well. He treats these patients as a kinesiotherapist at the VA hospital in Knoxville, Iowa, and I am very proud of him for making a difference in the lives of the patients he works with. A great number of these men and women will require prosthetic and sensory aid resources. In 2007 alone, more than 1.3 soldiers sought these services. As amputees continue to return from the war, the number of patients who require prosthetic services will continue to rise. In order to meet this increased demand, the VA's budget for prosthetics and sensory aid services, PSAS, has risen dramatically. Increased funding for this service has been a bipartisan effort. Democrats and Republicans alike are dedicated to providing the best possible care to our wounded veterans. But while the VA has made great strides in offering treatment, many amputees continue to face obstacles. In addressing these challenges, we should first look to small healthcare providers who comprise the bulk of the prosthetics industry. Small firms make up 80% of this vital medical sector. In fact, the administration currently holds 600 agreements with small prosthetic practices. But despite the VA's efforts to ensure quality care to amputees, many vendors have raised concerns. The system, while enormously helpful to the vast majority of veterans, is not perfect. A series of issues regarding procurement have made this sector increasingly difficult to navigate. As a result, the well-being of our wounded soldiers could be improved. In order for small healthcare providers to successfully serve these men and women, several barriers must be addressed and overcome. One of the greatest challenges facing prosthetic businesses is the VA's obsolete contract procedure. The documents for this process can be outdated and hard to follow. In some cases, it would seem that neither the practice nor the paperwork has kept pace with industry development. Similarly, the bidding procedure for the administration's proposals can be disorganized and inconsistent. Consequently, many small businesses find themselves shut out of the system. These logistical roadblocks have deterred many entrepreneurs from participating altogether. This means more than just decreased revenues for small firms. It means fewer choices for wounded veterans. Further compounding the choice issue are restrictive contracting practices. Prosthetic providers around the country have noted instances in which VA hospitals have narrowed patient selections. This can be devastating to amputees who need specific devices made by a limited number of providers. In outsourcing to small prosthetic businesses, the VA allows veterans to seek more personalized care. We must ensure that amputees continue to have this option. It's important to note that these suggestions are not intended to undermine the vital work of the VA. On the contrary, this committee recognizes the administration's considerable efforts in providing quality care to veterans. As we will hear today, its services have been a literal lifeline to countless veterans across the country. What's more, the VA has been and continues to be an important partner for the small business community. With this in mind, we must ensure that the administration and small business providers have the opportunity to build an even stronger partnership. In doing so, we will not only bolster our small businesses, we will also support the heroic men and women who have answered our nation's call. These noble warriors have spilled their blood for us and have served their country with courage. They have earned and deserve our support. Their well-being is our moral obligation, and we should not shirk in our financial responsibility to care for them as a fundamental and patriotic duty. If we fail to live up to that responsibility and give them the best chance to reach their full potential, we will pay a heavy price over their lifetimes in added medical expenses due to chronic disease processes that are aggravated by inactivity, such as morbid obesity, diabetes, and vascular diseases that lead to heart attacks and strokes. To paraphrase the old Fram oil filter commercial, we can pay for them now or we can pay for them later. In this morning's hearing, we identify future needs of amputees who face care decisions in the DoD and VA medical systems and examine ways in which the VA and small businesses can work together to address those critical needs. I want to thank all of our witnesses in advance for taking time from their busy lives to travel here and share their testimony. I look forward to a lively, frank, and informative exchange. And at this time, I have the privilege of recognizing the ranking member, my friend David Davis from Tennessee, and ask him to share his opening statement.